Well, the Falcons had one single job to do this week, and that was not allow
They failed that one multiple times.
not allow the New Orleans Saints to score more than them. And they
Hey,
failed that a lot.
when Derek Carr looks like a fucking old Joe Montana, buddy, it's hard to stop.
It's not looking good for you.
Derek Carr was on fire.
He was slaying that
I
thing,
don't think
man.
there's and then you had the whole debacle. The Saints are up by 41. They have the interception. Tyrann Mathieu takes it to the one. Supposed to kneel it out, get out of their sportsmanship, yada yada yada. This is pro football. The one thing I didn't like about the touchdown at the end that ran up the score was the victory formation and then
Yeah,
punching it in. Line it
you
up in a
you
normal,
can't
like
fake
that's
a
where
knee, bro.
players get injured. That's where players get
Yeah.
injured because players are thinking you're just going to kneel it. I'm going to save my energy, whatever. And then they get rolled up on. So I get that, but also like there's no such thing as running up a score in professional sports. You get paid for it. Be a man, muster up. Artie Smith, like you
Well,
get
and I don't
fired because
know.
you suck, dude.
And what if that was the cherry on top? Like you just went out like that, and now, now we're really done
We
with
were
you.
thinking about keeping you, but you gave up that last second.
But you know, Mitch Schwartz sounded off on this on Twitter. Now the defense has every right to just fucking wail on the guy across from him, and there wouldn't be any backlash because they have to be prepared for a fake knee and a handoff. Like
Yep.
is I don't think dirty is the right word, but it's definitely just like unnecessary, slippery slope. I mean, there was
You want to
no
go for it, you want to run up the score,
sure,
no problem
exactly,
with it. No problem with line it up. Don't
yeah.
you can't you can't get caught in these situations where it's ambiguous and players are trying to, hey, game's over, you whooped our butts, we're done, and get rolled up on, and now that's somebody's career. That's not good.
And it all comes down to all the Saints players. Not even the coaching staff called that. Jameis Winston,
Oh yeah,
J-Bo.
that did. Yeah, it was the players overruled the coach because Jamal Williams hadn't had a touchdown on the season, which I also think is a bullshit reason to try and fucking do that. But
Yeah, he didn't have an incentive to how I understand it anyways. Didn't have incentives, wasn't
no,
reaching like a history mark. They just wanted to get the guy a touchdown. I was like,
because he led the
okay,
NFL in touchdowns last season, and he was about to end the season with zero this year. It's just it's lack of
shouldn't have chosen the
professionalism.
Saints.
Do what? Oh, shouldn't have chosen this.
Shouldn't have
Yeah, I
chosen the
mean, what he
Saints.
walked away from more money to stay on the Lions and ends up on the Saints and is in the middle of a weird, shitty backfield. Like,
But and then there's all the I don't know if you guys saw, but obviously there's the Jabo post game interview that he did, and then there was also the Cam Jordan had his post game interview at his locker that he did. I think there were a couple other players, and basically every single one of them is talking shit on Dennis Allen, the head coach DA. Including Jay, they're all talking shit on him. They're
I
like,
didn't see
we don't
this.
respect this guy. Now they didn't call him out, but you can tell in their answers the way that they were like talking about front office. Like Cam Jordan was saying, "Hey, players are replaceable. So is everyone else. So are the coaches. So is the front office." Like he was just everybody was throwing shots at Da. Never called him coach. They all called him Da. Didn't even call him Dennis. Like just everything in the book at this guy, and the Saints are still going to end up keeping him as a head coach. Horrible franchise.
It seems like a really awkward locker room situation, but we'll see how that affects the team next year. Because if you have a head coach that you don't want to play for, these players could just sabotage him. And
That
that's
brings
all
me
for
to
them.
the Falcons here. They just fired Arthur Smith. Do you think the players have a much better year now? Do you think they actually get utilized next year with a new coach? They
Whoever
actually get a
comes in,
quarterback
and it
come
could
in?
Can
it listen, it could be Freddie Kitchens, and you guys know how much I hate Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens could go in there and do a better job than Arthur Smith. It's not hard to go in there and do a better job. You how does Bijan not get more than 5 touches inside the 5 yard line? How does Kyle Pitts go multiple
because
games in a row without even a target?
they have a decent backup running back, and they don't want to get Bijan hurt in his first fucking year. How about that?
How does how does Kyle Pitts? Well, if that was the case, he'd have scored more, but he
It's
didn't.
bet. I think it's more on Kyle Pitts than it is the coaching. Jonnu
Not
Smith
getting
had a better
open.
year. His backup had a better year than him.
You're saying
I
you're
think it's a
telling
lot of
me
quarterback play. It's a
I was
lot of quarterback play.
is it quarterback play or is it the way that the coaches are wanting the quarterback to play?
I mean,
Because I'm
regardless,
when I'm looking at when I'm
Ritter and
watching
Heineke played like
the
shit this
film,
year. It's a combination
they're
of a
not
terrible
good.
scheme and terrible quarterbacks.
That
It
I would
sucks it
say
all
that
falls on
because
Arthur Smith's shoulders, but I do feel like he is a part of the problem.
he's been there for 3 years, and the issues that you just called out aren't changing. Right? It's the same continuous issue year over year because it's not
Well, I
just
mean,
Bijan. It's Bijan. It's Kyle. It's Drake London, who has had some good success. Drake, but not as much as he should be having. We have seen underperforming quarterbacks still or lesser quarterbacks than Desmond Ritter and Taylor Heineke play better than those two did this year with lesser weapons.
I was going to say, point blank, period, you have too much firepower on offense to be at the record that you're at, to be performing at the level that they performed this year. So, I mean, ultimately, it's going to come down to the head coach's job. But like I said, we'll see who they bring in. I would not be excited as a Falcons fan if it was fucking Freddie Kitchens, but
No,
I don't know who's
no.
rumored out there to like be up for the job, but
I think a perfect fit for that team right now would be Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator.
Just
They
about to
get
say
if
that.
they get a quarterback in there, possibly trade for Justin Fields, that would be one of the deadliest offenses coming up next year.
that'd be crazy.
Could go there. You could go there if you want to go offense. Like he's the guy to go for. If you want somebody like I was kind of talking about this with a couple people at work. Harbaugh is rumored to go to San Diego or not San Diego, LA to the Chargers, but the more the better looking prospect of a team going to the NFL would be Atlanta. Your offense is basically built. You can do much better with a better scheme, even with the two quarterbacks that you have, much better than you have done. Your defense is top 15 when they're not on the field 75% of the game.
You have a top 10
Your
pick.
offense, you have all the weapons, you have a top 10 pick and a franchise that doesn't really care about spending money like they will. They've shown that they will. They just built a brand new stadium that hosts everything. If I'm John Harbaugh, I'd go to Atlanta, and you've got the pedigree. You're a defensive guy, but normally you just oversee things and you bring in guys you know how to run an organization. He's shown it before. Why not?
He's a
Well,
Cali
yeah,
boy.
I definitely think Atlanta is the most appealing of the available head coaching jobs. Like I love that roster besides quarterback position. Whoever does come in, I would still focus on bolstering that offense, and not necessarily talking about weapons. You should get a little bit better on the offensive line, and you fix that scheme. That Falcons offense should be a terror. Let alone if they had Justin Fields. If they had Justin Fields, I feel like that's like upper echelon. But I don't think the
That's
tape
another
is
option.
quite out on Justin Fields just yet. I get it; it's his third year, but he's streaky. Um, and the reason why I would focus on offense is even though they did just give up 40 something points to the Saints, their defense has been like kind of middle of the road. Their defense has been a little streaky, but like they had decent numbers against wide receivers. And I'm going off like fantasy stuff here. I'm not looking like at the real numbers, but like they had a decent defense, guys. Like they weren't
No, they
terrible.
did. And when they're not out there 100% of the time, like they usually are, at least the second half of the season, then they can be competent enough to help you win games. That Atlanta defense isn't bad.